Good day, everybody. I won't say good morning because I never know when you're going to listen to it, or good afternoon. So, hello and welcome to episode 2 of S.I.P.A Paranormal Chronicles. I'm your host, Lee, and joining me once more is I'm having a blonde moment, Megan,
Hi.
and I don't know what day it is, Joe.
Hello.
You will get to know these two, and trust me, they are both hard work in their own right. So,
Just shake my head on that.
Since last time we spoke, have you done any more snow clearing, Joe?
5 more inches. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's just from my porch, though. I can't wait to do the driveway.
Yeah, well, some of us that have private jets, I had to do my own runway this morning. I was very disappointed.
Oh.
All my private staff.
Poor
okay,
you
guys.
and Faith Hill.
Yes. See?
She's still popular, right? Faith Hill. She's still a musician, I think.
Is she? Is she still alive?
Tim McGraw? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
so.
all right. You and Faith Hill have one.
Yeah. Megan's got no idea who you're talking about.
Yes, I do. I know who they are.
Who are they, Meg?
They're country singers.
There you go.
Wife.
See?
Oh, yeah. See, you stopped me as soon as you said country. It's like, meow.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yep, nope, no to country. Okay.
Nope.
Shall we stop talking about country music? Because that's not what we're here for.
Yeah.
The ghost of Johnny Cash.
Yeah. There you go. Make it country.
Can we have a bit of decorum, please? Thank you. So, episode 2. So you want to find a ghost. If you're interested in the paranormal, if you're not part of an investigation team or you don't know if one exists, there are ways that you can go on investigations. So there are places and companies that hold either ghost walks or ghost talks, and some places do public investigations. And what that means is you can turn up at a location, you pay your money, and they will have a selection of gadgets that you can play with. They will have cameras, they will have audio devices, they will have REM pods, which we'll talk about equipment later. They will have all different gadgets that you can use and play with just to get the feel as if you want to be involved in a group. So, Megan, you're part of a group.
Yes, I am.
How did you first get involved with a paranormal investigation group?
Honestly, I saw on Facebook like an event happening to join a public investigation. So me and my best friend decided to buy tickets, and we went and we joined, and we had so much fun, and we got to meet the team that we were asked to join the team. And we were with the team for about a year, and then we decided to make our own team, and I was with them for about a year. And now I've joined your team, and yeah, that's basically, now I'm like 2 years in with the team.
Yeah, and funnily enough, that's exactly the same for myself, because as a Valentine's Day present last year, the wife decided to send me by myself to a investigation. Well, yeah, an investigation, haunted walk kind of thing. And I actually met up with the two guys that we then created S.I.P.A. So a year ago, this weekend is when we did went on the investigation. They brought a couple of gadgets. I was looking for somebody or something to get involved in. Started asking them questions about what gadgets they brought, and a couple of weeks later, we met up in a pub, and we decided to join forces, get together, because we'd all got the same amount of enthusiasm. Because that's one thing that you need tons of. You need enthusiasm.
Yes.
This is not just a hobby or a pastime that you can do on a whim. It can cost a lot of money. And if you are going to be recording either audio or video, it's not just recording it on the night. You've got a lot of reviewing to do. You've got to audit the audio and the video in real time. So if you've recorded 5 hours of video, you're going to have to sit through that 5 hours of video again. So there's a lot of dedication. Yeah, you need to have a lot of enthusiasm. Yeah, otherwise you're just going to get bored really quickly. And yeah, that kind of brings me on to my first point. If you're going to be a paranormal investigator, you really do need to be prepared to be bored, because it's not all like what you see on TV. Yeah, people don't get possessed every week on these investigations. Yeah, and unfortunately, yeah, some of the TV shows do portray what we do with loud bangs, things being thrown, voices coming out of every closet, every cupboard, where in reality, you're sat in a dark room, you've got your camera, you've got your audio device, and you're pretty much talking to yourself. Joe, have you ever been in that situation where you've been in a dark room talking to yourself? And I don't mean your hospital ward.
Oh, not my ward. Of course. You described a investigation pretty well. It is a lot of thank God I'm an only child, because you're kind of like used to supplying your own entertainment for hours on end. And it is a bit isolating at times. It's a bit lonely at times, even with a team there, because they're not all in the same location. And afterwards, every minute that passes by in real time the recording, that's another minute you have to then review.
Yeah.
And that's where the fun starts.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize how much work behind the scenes you have to do. Like, we've still got reviewing to be done from investigations that we did 6 months ago, because you start doing the reviewing, then you go on another investigation,
Right.
then you have to download all the stuff that you've recorded. And then if you think you found something exciting at that investigation, you concentrate on that one. Then you go on another investigation, and so on and so on and so on. And it's a never ending story. And you really have got to know what you're doing. Because, like I said in the previous episode, there's a lot of people that think they've seen or experienced something when it's not actually the paranormal. Yeah. And if you're going to go on an investigation, the absolute basics I think you need are a video camera of some description, an audio device, a flashlight, notebook, and pen. And that's pretty much all you need to start with. You can go out and buy all this equipment that we'll talk about in another episode, and you can spend thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, if it's got the word ghost and hunter in the title, you can probably guarantee that extra dollars have been put on top of that to let people go out and buy stuff that you could probably make if you were somewhat technically minded.
It's the branding of it all.
Exactly.
Right.
So, yeah, you don't need anything that's really like top of the range. You don't need anything that's like got all the bells and whistles. It is basically a video recorder that potentially has IR, because otherwise you can't really film in the dark. A basic audio device, and the audio devices are really good nowadays. You can buy them on certain shopping sites that we won't mention for like $30, $40, and they are really good quality. And obviously, if you're going to be walking about in the dark, you need a good flashlight. I remember doing an investigation last year where we was at a mill, and there was a little hut about a couple of minute walk away from the main mill. So we sent Megan off by herself to sit in this little hut. Yeah. How long were you there for?
10 minutes, I want to say.
10 minutes. Such a wuss. So, like, most people,
I mean,
I'll spend there.
It was, well, when I'm doing the live and people are like, did you hear that voice? And I'm like, no, but now I'm scared there's someone else here. Like,
And it was from the road to the mill is about a 5-minute drive.
yes.
Yeah, you had to do it in your car because it would have taken far too long to
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, and then the hut was off to the right, and that was like a 2-minute walk from the mill.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like in the woods. It was dark. There were animal noises. There was
Yes.
a little river like
Yes.
going by the side of it, and it was like it
Fun.
was spooky with a capital S.
So creepy.
So that's why we sent Megan into that little hut by herself.
Wait. You sent someone by themselves. You just
Yeah.
said, don't do this alone. First thing. And so we sent Megan by herself into the hut of doom. We're not sure why it's called the hut of doom.
We were a couple of minutes away. It wasn't like, Megan, go to that house by yourself and we're going home for a coffee.
So if I screamed loud enough, they could hear me to come running.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
They
you
know when to
scream really,
run.
if you scream really loud,
Away.
we'd go, oh,
Technically, I was on a live stream, and people that were in one of the buildings were watching the live stream, so they would have saw in real time if a bear ate me or something. So
Yeah, but they were 2 minutes away. They're exactly. The bear's going to eat you in the 2 minutes.
yeah, but
I would have been screwed.
As long as you start CPR within the first 3 minutes, you're okay. So don't worry about that.
For the bear?
No, for the human.
Oh, wow.
Okay. So one thing that you need to be as a paranormal investigator, you need to be somewhat skeptical. I think everybody would agree with that. Because there's, as I said in the previous episode, there's some things that are natural that people can mistake for
Right.
being paranormal. So as long as you've got a skeptical mind, I think you're actually rational about it. Yeah, okay. Could that be this? Could it be that? And you need to go through your rational thinking before you even think that it's paranormal. Okay, if you're in a nice little room by yourself in the middle of a woods and you know that the closest person's 5 minutes away and you hear whispers and you look outside and you don't see anybody, yeah, you've got to be logical about it. Yeah.
Yep.
Once you've checked that area, is there anybody around me? No, there isn't. Then you've got to think, okay, what can that be? So you've got to have a certain amount of skepticism built in when you go on any investigation. Yeah. It's just, you've got to use common sense.
Yeah.
It's not as common as what people think nowadays, but being a paranormal investigator, yeah, rational, skeptic to a certain extent, and you've got to have common sense. Common sense, even can't even say my words now. So one thing that people think is imperative is to have somebody who is skilled in communicating with the past life. So a medium. Is one really necessary to do an investigation? A lot of people are skeptic on mediums anyway, but if you've got information that the medium does not know about and that medium mentions that particular word or a particular name in her communication, then there's got to be some point where you actually go, well, this person could be telling the truth. And I'm not saying that there aren't real mediums out there. There are. Some of them have got really good reputations, but you've got to be rational about these things. Most of these locations, a lot of them, unless it's a private home, can be in the public domain. So you've got to be careful about what information you provide to a medium prior to the event. In an ideal world, if you can bring a medium to an event that has no indication of where they're being brought to, yeah, blindfold them if you wish, so they don't know where they are, and then let them do a reading. And I think then you're going to get more positive information and more positive outcomes.
Right.
Thoughts?
Oh, I have got poor experiences with mediums, so I'm not exactly the one to ask on this one. It's the histrionics of it all turned me off first couple times. We used to have one for Montreal. We used to have two in Montreal, and I'm pretty sure they're just BS. Like the ones we use. I'm not saying mediumship in general. The ones we use were just like no.
Megan?
I guess I'm the same way. I haven't really been around many of them, but I've heard stories of like people, clients talking to me about it and some of the stuff that they can say. And it's like, how would they know that? I do believe there is some truth to some of them, like
Yeah.
not saying all, but I do feel like some people aren't always like I also feel like too there's so much negative around them. I always feel like they're looking for bad things. I do see that in a way, but
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
I
probably
think that's
not the
the
best.
problem. Yeah, but that's the problem. There's a lot of negativity.
Right.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in this day and age, there are people that are in it for the wrong reasons. If you're in
Yes.
it for the genuine reasons,
Yeah.
and if you have a medium that does come out with positive information that you know damn well that there's no way that she could have found that online or he could have found that online,
Yeah.
then that's going to be more reassuring to the investigation. So that also brings in the point that you need to have an open mind
Yep.
about everything that you encounter in investigation. Just because you hear a noise does not mean it's of a paranormal nature. So, a perfect example at the same location, I believe it was the same night when Megan was thrown into the woods by herself. I was in a different part of the property and I walked into a kitchen. I'd come down some stairs, I turned left, and I walked into a dining room rather than a kitchen. And all there was a table and some chairs. As I walked past between the chair and the table, I heard that can only be described, and I've got the evidence, as a psst kind of noise. It looked like someone was trying to get my attention. And I believe I've sent you that audio as well, Joe, so you know
Yeah.
what audio I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's all on video, and I was wearing a body cam, and I stopped dead. I looked immediately round, and there was nobody there trying to get my attention. Nobody would have been made that noise to get my attention because they would have called out my name for a start. So I'm kind of looking around. I can't see any reason for that noise. I try and replicate the noise by brushing past the table, brushing past the chairs. I cannot replicate that noise. And I spoke to a friend of mine who's got a do deals with audio and video professionally. And when it came back to me, they confirmed that the audio wasn't tampered with, the video wasn't tampered with. It was just one of those. They called it a good catch because you cannot describe what it was, you cannot explain what it was. There's no rational explanation of what it was. It wasn't a vehicle. It wasn't like footwear squeaking or anything like that.
No.
It just sounded like it was a human trying to get my attention by going psst. And like I say, I know you've watched that video and you've listened to the audio, Joe. So yeah, can you really give an explanation of what that was?
I believe that was it the first one you sent me? Was it the
I,
first batch?
either the first or the second. I think it
It's
might
just
have
like
been the second.
okay. Yeah, I broke it down from the video as well as just the audio, and it was something that made a noise print, something that did not look like sonically look like your footsteps. Or when you bumped into something, it didn't look like anything that you were making yourself, and it didn't even look like you're breathing because we took a picture of it. We took a little bit of a scan of your inhales and exhales, and it wasn't that pattern. It was something that you were actually hearing on the event itself, the psst event. What it is, I don't know. What it's not, I can say it's not this, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that.
Yeah.
Most
And,
likely not, I should say.
yeah. And as a paranormal investigator, you don't then come out and say when you've got it back from somebody who's evaluated it, and when you've got it wasn't A, B, C, D, and E, I cannot explain what it was. You don't then immediately come out and go, right, that was a ghost.
Right.
Because we don't know. We can't say that for definite. We're not the experts. We try to think we are, but we're not. You can't say that was a paranormal activity. So that will always go onto the unexplained pile. Until we get a rational explanation, it will stay on that pile. Yeah. Is it a ghost? Maybe. Can we prove it's a ghost? No.
No.
Unexplained. So that's the kind of thing that you need to have. You need to have I can rationally explain what this was. It was a smoke alarm that needs a new battery, or it was
Right. The chirp.
or it was the humming of a modem, or whatever. You can rationally explain it was an animal outside, it was a car outside. But if you cannot explain it, don't straight away flag it as paranormal. It has to be unexplained, because you cannot put your finger on it and say, yes, 100% that was a ghost.
That's correctly. Even when I'm saying about the pissed, I don't think it was your boots. I don't think it was your breathing. I can't say for sure, but most likely it's not. And that's why I have to leave it. It has to be most likely. I can't say 1,000% sure that's not it. It's most likely not, which leaves the open for doubt, which is scientific. You're supposed to have doubt when you're a scientist. You're not trying to prove, really. You're saying most
Exactly.
likely this.
Yeah. So, Megan, have you had anything that you can kind of put in that same kind of conversation?
Of like what to bring to.
Yeah. So, have you heard a electronic voice phenomena that you can't explain?
Yes, we were doing an investigation at one of the jails, and we were doing a live stream. And when we all left the building, there were two voices like talking the whole time. And when we got back in the room, it would like shh, and then it would stop. But again, we don't know if it's paranormal. It could be the internet, it could be the wiring, it could be frequencies, it could have picked up a phone call. But it was really cool how when we got into the room, we couldn't hear it because it was on live stream. We only found out when we left the building, checked the live stream, and it's like a full-on conversation. Like it literally
Wow.
sounds like people underwater talking. But when someone would walk into the room, you would hear shh and it would stop. So that's why we would question, like, is it a phone call? Because how would they know someone just came into the room? But of course, we can't prove it. It could be from the internet, like towers. It could be the old wiring in the jail. It could be many reasons why the live
That's it.
stream could have done it.
And that's one of the
Cool.
reasons why 9 times out of 10 on an investigation, we don't take walkie-talkies with us,
Yep.
because there could be misinterpretation if someone's calling you. Plus the
Yep.
fact that some of the walkie-talkies can activate some of the devices that we use.
Yeah.
If we have our cell phones with us, we insist that everyone puts their phones on airplane mode,
Yep.
because that's going to take away the internet factor. So stop any unnecessary noises and like calls coming in. So when you go on an investigation, you've got to rule out everything in the natural
Yep.
world that you possibly can, because you're looking for something that's not natural. So you've got to preempt the investigation. Right, we need to make sure that the power's turned off,
Yep.
if it's practical to turn the power off. If you've got air conditioning going off on a regular basis, once you hear that, once you do your review, you can take that out of the equation, because you know what it is straight away. And if you're doing a question and answer with the audio, or if you're recording and you bang into something, mention that you bang into it
Yes.
because it's going to have a timestamp.
Yep.
So if you hear a thud and you go, "Oh, that was my knee against the table," you need to rule out everything natural straight away. If somebody coughs, "Oh, that was Joe coughing." Somebody sneezes, you need to mention it in the audio so that when you review it, you can rule it out straight away.
And it's good too when people are talking on recorders to introduce themselves like in the room so everybody can kind of hear their voice. Because I know like some investigations we didn't do that. We're like, oh my God, who's that? That's not. But it turns out it was someone
Right.
Yeah,
else. So
yeah.
that's
You've got to
another
make
thing.
sure that everybody, like, this is Joe, Megan, and
Yeah.
Lee. We're in the dining room. If anybody else walks in, you need to mention that on the
Yes.
recording because then you
Yeah.
can. Oh, we've got another voice, but okay, somebody else walked in, but we didn't mention it.
And
So
once you start thinking like that too, it really changes. Because like when I first started anything weird, I'm like, oh my God, it's a ghost. Like I want to believe it so bad. But once you start thinking like this, it kind of breaks it down. Like, no, okay, wait, check this, check that. So it helped me when I started
exactly.
investigating for sure.
So that kind of brings it on to another point of some essential skills that a paranormal investigator needs to have. You need to be a really good listener. That's kind of like the be all and end all because you've got to be able to listen. A car drove past, the air conditioning came on, Joe just walked into the room. You need to be able to listen to the normal sounds of a building before you can say that something is unexplained. During the
Yep.
summer, when you get a really hot summer, buildings will warm up and cool down. So the creaking and cracks of a building cooling down, it's not paranormal. It's a natural phenomena of a building getting warm during the day and cooling down in the evening.
Yep.
One thing
Yeah.
that I do find is funny is one of my next points. A paranormal investigator needs to keep in good physical shape. Round's a shape, and well, around. But you do a lot of physical walking when you're on an investigation.
Yep.
You don't kind of stay still in one room. If the room's got 5 bedrooms, a kitchen, a dining room, a lounge, a basement, garage, you're going to be walking around in all of those. So you're definitely going to get your steps in for the day. What's the fact? You've got equipment to carry. It might not be heavy, but some people have bigger cameras or they have devices that they want to take with them. So, not necessarily that you have to be in good shape, but you're going to need to know that you're going to be able to carry on for the entire evening.
Yeah. A
I
lot of
guess it
standing
depends.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Definitely a lot of standing. And make sure that
I
you
think
bring snacks.
I think the
Yes.
craziest walk I did was 4 kilometer walk to one of the jails we went into, and that was the craziest walk I've ever done. I'm out of shape. I'll tell you that.
4
So,
kilometers.
yeah,
You walked to
Yeah.
there? You didn't drive there? Or
Yes.
you
No, because we went to Burwash in it's up north, and you can only walk it because there's no
Oh
roads,
geez.
and there's like a river you got to go through. He's building a road. It was the craziest walk of my life. Like it took us 3 hours to get there, and then
Oh
we
wow.
stayed overnight, and then you had to do it again in the morning. So not that every investigation is going to be like that, but you had to carry everything with you too. So that was a
crazy.
That's why
crazy
we
So,
hire
experience.
yeah,
interns.
exactly.
Let them
So,
carry it.
Yeah.
one of the things that I find very useful is there's many sources online where you can do the courses on paranormal activity, like for ghosts or demonology or poltergeist or how to do an effective voice recording or video
Right.
tips. If you can do some of these courses and you get a background knowledge, that definitely helps the investigation because you can understand
Mhm.
more about what's happening if it may be of a paranormal nature rather than something that's natural. If you've got somebody that wants to join the paranormal team who has got a background in contracting, for example, they're going to know what a building sounds like, air conditioning, heating systems. They're going to know the normal sounds of a building on an everyday basis. So to get some knowledge into your team, whether it's the online courses or it's commercial knowledge background, I think that's also helps a team understand a location, a building on a much better level.
I think so. Also, the proper temperament. I won't mention any names, but we've all seen the ones where the people just yelling and screaming and
Yeah,
vulgarities left and right. It's like, what are we
yeah.
doing?
So if you're going searching for a voice phenomena and you ask if there's anybody there and somebody responds, don't scream like a banshee. Like that's what you're there for. And if you
Yeah.
get it, and the ghost is like going, "Hang on a minute." He asked me, "Is there anybody there?" I responded, and he's now screaming. It's like, what the hell? It's like, come on, guys. Yeah, you've got to be sensible about it.
Yeah, it's like you came to
So
my house and started swearing at me. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do anything for you because
Yeah,
you're being a child. So, like I mentioned earlier, the basics of what you need, yeah, it all depends on the budget
yeah,
of the individual. Yeah, a decent, excuse me, a decent IR camera can be between $90 and $200. Yeah, not everybody can afford it. Yeah, a good audio device, get a good one for like $30, $40. Pen and paper, writing notes. Yeah, there's a good flashlight, good
yeah.
torch is always useful. It's no worse than falling down some stairs and then realizing that you have to call somebody to come and pick you up because you broke your leg. But it's not all about the bells and whistles, like I already mentioned. It's you've got to build your equipment base by what you can afford. You don't have to go out your way and spend X amount of dollars on equipment that somebody says will pick up ghosts, because the chances are probably won't unless you know how to use it correctly.
Yeah, and a lot of false positives too.
Exactly,
So the
exactly.
more you spend,
Like I mentioned earlier, some of these devices that you can get, if you press your walkie-talkie in next door to the device will go off.
absolutely
And one thing that you mentioned the word device. Some of these investigations that you do, some of the houses are extremely old. So if you want a spirit to respond to you, I always find that people go and touch that device on the floor. They're not going to know what device was, because that word device wasn't created in the 1800s. They're not going to know what are you talking about. So when I go on an investigation, I always like to say, touch the green light, or touch the box that's on the floor, or touch the toy. I always try and dumb it down a little bit, rather than using go and touch the REM pod, and the ghost sat there going like, Brian, do you know what a REM pod is? No, I don't. What's this go? It wants us to go and touch a REM pod. What the hell's a REM pod?
Yeah.
So you've got to make it for the time period. Don't use big words that potentially a spirit's not going to understand. One thing that I think is a really good idea is to research the location before you do the investigation. I love doing background searches on the
right.
locations. On a private investigation in a home, it's not always easy, because a house is a house is a house, unless there was something substantial on the land beforehand. But a lot of the old stately homes and buildings, you can pretty much get a lot of really good information. If you can get a family line of who lived there, you can find out if people died at the location, and you can get a good family background. So I always like to research the investigation. And even though we joked about it earlier about Megan being sent into the woods, it's never a good idea to investigate alone,
Yeah.
because you see it on TV where some of these guys go into these abandoned houses. If they fall and break the leg,
Yeah.
or even worse, if you can't reach the communication, your cell phone or whatever, they've got, you could be there for days, and it's not going to end in your best interests.
Yeah, I think people forget that, Lee, right there. They
Yeah.
think, oh, I'm not afraid of the ghost. Sure, you're not afraid of a ghost, but that house is like 3,000 years old. You're going to fall through the
Yeah.
flooring.
Yeah,
You need
exactly.
someone to help you out later on.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
God forbid.
if that happens and you injure yourself, if there's somebody else there, you can get the emergency services there, PDQ, pretty damn quick. But if you're there by yourself, go on.
Another thing I would say too, because I know a lot of people when they, I want to go investigate old places, they'll break into like abandoned homes and
The break
they'll
in.
go in and don't do that. Like it's best to get permission also, and when you go into abandoned homes, you do take the risk. And
Exactly. Yeah, you've got to be respectful of the living
Yeah.
as well as the dead.
Yes.
So don't break into private property. Yeah. In this day and age, people carrying firearms,
Yeah.
potentially you could get shot.
Then you can be the ghost.
Yeah, exactly. Then you can come back
on,
and
it's
haunt
me.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you're trying to communicate, though, especially with the spirits, you see a lot of it on the TV shows where they kind of get aggressive to try and antagonize the spirit. But I've always find it better that if you're respectful and you mind your manners, you tend to get more responses
Yeah.
than if you do
Yeah.
by antagonizing. And like we've already mentioned, always, always, always rule out the logical explanations first. If you know it's air conditioning or you know it's a heater, rule out all those normal noises and get used to what noises a building makes. Whether it's cooling down in the evening, electronic noises. Some of these heating systems are automatic. You can't turn them off. So if you know that there's a heating system that's going to spark into life every half an hour, take that into account when you're trying to communicate.
Yeah.
And like I said, always be courteous towards the people that you're trying to communicate with. If you can find out the names, I always like to find out the background. So if I'm looking for a John Smith, I will call him by name. That tends to get a good response rather than any negativity. So it's always good to really get to know your ghost. Find out who you're going to visit. And one thing to remember, at the end of the day, if they still roam that building along their corridor, that's their home. You are technically invading their home. So that's another reason why to be respectful. And one thing that I do find quite funny at times is on some of these TV shows, people go berserk when they hear the word demon on any of the devices. But logically thinking, what we're doing to try and communicate with the dead, they may think is a demonic practice. It's not a case of that there's a demon in that room.
Yeah. Smart.
The spirit might be calling you a demon for doing witchcraft, trying to communicate with the dead, not the bed. It's not bedtime yet. With
Not
the dead.
yet.
So, So it's like, it's funny how, it must be a demon. Well, not necessarily. The good chance is the spirit is calling you a demon for using your gadgets and trying to speak to the dead. So, guys, any thoughts on wanting to investigate, wanting to find a ghost? Anything we can add, because we've almost reached the end.
Megan, do you?
Have
Yeah.
fun. Have fun doing it.
That's really
have
it.
fun. and bring snacks.
And bring
Hydrate.
snacks. Hydrate,
Drinks as well. And
Hyd-
a place to go to the bathroom.
Yes.
yeah. So bring snacks, hydrate, and don't. Yeah, when we say find somewhere that's a bathroom, not the nearest tree,
Huh.
because some flashy blue lights turn up and you end up in handcuffs. Okay, guys. Well, thank you very much for being part of episode 2.
Thank you
Next
for
week,
having
we're
me.
going to actually, well, not next week, the next episode, but depending on when the next episode is, we're going to be actually talking about the pieces of equipment that we can use.
Ooh.
So I'm going to have a few examples of pieces that we can use and pick up and try and cover up the brand names so we're not advertising.
Pen
Yeah.
and paper.
Yeah, so here's my pen, here's my paper. That's all we need. Yeah, so again, thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.